Talking about taxes by the way of GST, direct taxes, indirect taxes. We've of course been talking about direct taxes for a while. ITR numbers are at an all-time high to the tune of approximately 6.8 crore people who have so far filed their income tax return. The number is way higher than last year, which was approximately 5.8 crore people. That is good news. What's also good news is what we discussed in terms of GST. The GST revenue showed up for the month of July is astounding. Quickly run us through those numbers. Those numbers, of course, on your screens. Let's quickly talk about the direct tax collection first, Krishna.
Look at that. Nearly over 6.5 crore rupees, 600 ITRs that are filed. More than 16% ITRs filed in the corresponding, 16% more than in the corresponding period in the last year. 53.5 lakh first-time filers and over 5.5 crore returns. E-verify is a very important point over there. E-verification helping the process a lot. 3.5 crore ITRs processed. One thing that is really happening with income tax filings, whether you'll know while you're doing it yourself, is that the fact that so much of it is being done online, filing it online, verification of it online has really made it easy for so many busy professionals to go ahead and do it without the help of a chartered accountant. Look at the number of young professionals, Shweta, that you and I know who are going ahead and filing these taxes all by themselves. Would have been unimaginable 10 years ago. When we started working in the first 5 years of our working, you asked us to go file. The process
was extremely complex.
Exactly. They were, Shweta, why don't you go file your own income tax return? Like, are you joking? Like, I'm not a chartered accountant. Today, they're like, hold on, chartered accountant, I want to figure this out. New regime, old regime, let me figure this out and quickly apply for it and file the taxes accordingly. So there's a lot of ownership on behalf of people who are taxpayers. And of course, I'm talking about the organized market of taxpayers who don't have an option but to pay income tax. I think they've woken up and also that they have been provided the right platform. There is Saral that is in the mix. The thing is that the larger problem is that the overall tax base, is increasing at a very annoying pace, which is not the kind
annoying.
Of pace.
Annoying pace. I wouldn't use that word, but come to think of it, states with highest growth in ITR filers is Andhra, Bihar, Punjab, Odisha, UP. Andhra Pradesh leading the pack there.
It tells you what kind of money that people in Andhra Pradesh are making. Also, it also tells you, the improvement of job scenario in Andhra Pradesh. That many more income tax filers from over there, from the organized segment. There has to be. You have to look at these data over a period of time, Shweta. In this one, clearly, Andhra Pradesh. You're talking about a southern state, high levels of education, high levels of employment as compared to, say, UP or a Bihar. So hence, Andhra Pradesh, filing so many taxes. So many people from Andhra also going to the US and UK to find employment. And also coming back and filing taxes for the incomes that they earn from everywhere, including India and abroad. So Andhra Pradesh is a developed, highly educated, far more industrialized state as compared to, say, Bihar.
Bihar is a pleasant surprise.
Bihar is a pleasant surprise. 42.2% increase. We're talking about all this is increase. It's the heartening thing about Andhra's number is that
highest growth basically in ITR filing.
Exactly. So and then half of that growth coming from Bihar is extremely heartening, and similar kind of growth coming from Punjab. Odisha.
Punjab on expected lines. Bihar, I think, has sprung a surprise, and UP there also sprung a surprise.
The fact that UP and Bihar put together are doing 40 to 20, 30% increase in ITR filings is extremely heartening news, Shweta, as you're rightly pointing out. Now, Andhra, I would say expected. It's a matter of time it increases even more. But whereas UP, Bihar being in the race along with Andhra, that's fascinating. Along with Punjab as well.
Absolutely. And other figures that came out from ITR filing is who's earning how much. And the change year on year, those numbers are also increasing. A 98% change in people who are earning up to 5 lakh rupees. I think the most surprising for me is that figure of 167% change. That is in the number of people earning 20 to 50 lakh rupees. Essentially, if I were to say this is literally, I mean, not 200%, but close to it. People who are earning the highest in the bracket of 20 to 50 lakh rupees, the growth percentage there is overwhelmingly surprising.
Surprises me as well. We're talking about an economy where we're thinking about jobs being difficult to find, and the fact that people have found jobs within 20 to 50 lakh rupee gap and filing taxes on time and correctly.
This is data as of June, so I mean.
June is a fair enough measure if you ask me, Shweta. I mean, we're talking about difficulty in jobs for the last year or so. Where are the jobs coming from? Why is unemployment so high? So many questions being raised. There you go. That's a fantastic number. That's the number of Indians getting jobs. It's the quality of jobs that Indians are getting.
Right.
You know what? Forget the 167%. Nearly 100% increase in up to 5 lakh rupee jobs. That's important. That's the number of people who are being added onto the organized employed sector. That is as crucial as people in 20 to 50 lakh. I'm guessing, look at the number difference. 2,19,423. 1 crore, 2,15,940. So, the fact that so many people are coming into the organized sector, getting jobs, getting ITRs filed, PAN card, Aadhaar, bank account, that to me is very crucial.
Good news for people, good news for the government, the government able to bring them into the tax net. Let's talk about the GST numbers, the indirect tax collection, which is also at an all-time high, the second highest in the month of July at 1.65 lakh crore.
I mean, GST has been a case of IPL viewership. I think it's it goes down, it comes up, but the numbers are always fascinating. There's enough and more interest in IPL. There's enough and more interest in GST. There you go. What am I supposed to say? 1.55 to 1.65. It's stuck in that range. The lowest it's gone is 1.49 lakh crore rupees, 1.5 lakh crore rupees. And the fact that just a couple of months ago it hit nearly 2 lakh crore rupees at 1.87 should tell you, the fact that overall.
I think it's important. What does it tell you? It essentially tells you that there is an increased compliance as far as GST is concerned. The figures are quite in line with what government was expecting to achieve consistently over 1 lakh crore rupees since the start of this year. More revenues, more money in government coffers, hopefully more and better policies for us, but more, essentially all in all, both the money that is coming in by the way of direct and indirect tax collection is filling up government's coffers, and hopefully that should translate into some substance for us, all of us.
I'm hoping that translates to better infrastructure for all of us. All that money goes into, there is a focus of government, be it even Nirmala Sitharaman has been talking about infrastructure, innovation, investment, all the 4 I's that Nirmala Sitharaman is talking about. Infrastructure is going to be the name of the game as far as India is concerned, with all these increased earnings. I'm hoping that all of this gets redirected eventually into larger infrastructure outlay from the government. But the fact of the matter is that this is very important.
This is important. This is the number of registered GST taxpayers who are currently at 13.8 million in financial year 22. This is not the latest data. This is for the data of financial year 22. But again, a good number there as far as compliance is concerned. Although I think it's also interesting to point out, since yesterday we've been talking about GST evasion, we've been talking about GST frauds, multiple GST registrations in order to subvert the law and not pay as many GST dues or as much. Fake invoicing. All of that continues to be a major problem, major hurdle. The government has not been able to identify how many of these GST registrations are actually true taxpayers as opposed to fake GST registrations. So all of that is going to be a burden for government to verify all these registrations and figure out how many are true, how many are not true.
Oh, absolutely, and the process is on. We've been talking about here on News9 Live as well. 2 things like you mentioned. One is the fake GST accounts per se. As in, if you have a GST number, the GST registration number, there is no account. Somebody has managed to get a fake Aadhaar and a fake PAN and has managed to register an account, which is a criminal offense. So first of all, and we're talking about over 20,000 fake GST registrations according to the last data that we've got. That's not exactly a happy number. It's not exactly a devastating number, but it's a number that's got to go away.
But that is for a very limited period of 3 months. And you extrapolate that for a year, the number becomes far higher.
Yeah, it's true. I would have been worried had GST collections been on the downswing because of all of that. Both reasons. One is fake GST accounts, which means you have so many GST accounts, you're supposed to get so many revenue, most of those GST accounts are fake. Second is that GST accounts and they're fake invoicing and they're not reporting the actual earnings and they're still paying less GST. The thing is that both are issues, and both are issues that would have alarmed all of us if your GST collections was going down. If your overall GST collections is not hitting minimum 1.5 lakh crore rupees and hitting nearly 2 lakh crore rupees, I would have said, oh my God, if there are 10 GST accounts, 5 of them are fake. We don't know that number. We are assuming that in a small period of time, if it's 20,000, in a longer period of time, it could be 1 lakh. But again, all of those are assumptions. This is based on the last 3 months of the IT department and the GST and the government essentially, purveying all the accounts and figuring out which is an actual account and which is not an actual account.
Okay. So and let's look at GST rates on some of the essential items, goods that we consume on a daily basis: milk, eggs, curd, lassi, kajul, educational services, health services,
They should put
0%.
tomato over there as well.
Tomato as well. Okay. Sugar, tea, packed paneer, coal, edible oil, raisins, domestic LPG, 5% GST.
Yep.
Those are essential goods and items that we're discussing here, and the GST rates on the same. Butter, ghee, computers, processed food, almonds, mobile, 12%. And
isn't it so beautiful? Milk is 0%, but
and
butter is
12%.
12%. That's called value addition.
Okay.
So, and also, this sort of tells you a story of the milk is essential for you, but
You
not
can do
exactly.
without
You can do without the butter,
the butter and the
so
ghee.
to speak.
Okay.
Or if you want butter, pay 12% GST.
All right. So 18% on hair oil, capital goods, toothpaste, soap, ice cream, pasta. So all of that, of course, are the and 28% before. Okay, so 28% on small
sin
cars.
tax.
The sin tax, as they call it, high-end motorcycle 15% plus cess, consumer durables, luxury sin items, aerated drinks, essentially items that you own because you have more money and you can afford to buy them, as opposed to being essential essential items that you need for daily
I love the
survival.
fact that aerated drinks is 28% tax plus a 15% cess. That's like an effective way of banning aerated drinks in the Indian market. You're essentially paying a premium of nearly 50% per aerated drink that you're having, and that's how sinful an aerated drink is. If we can send one message out along with all the business news messages we're sending out, ladies and gentlemen, stay away from aerated drinks. Look at how they're being taxed. They're not good for you.
Nobody cares about the taxes. As long as you want to drink it, you drink it.
No,
you don't care of how much you're paying on
anything
it.
that's non-aerated drink. It's better for your health. You know how harmful. You've seen enough and more YouTube videos of how harmful aerated drinks are, and that's government's way of telling the entire population that, like, that's what aerated drinks do to you, and that's the reason why we're taxing it so much. So I sort of think that the GST, when it fully evolves, Shweta, I think we'll have a more rational, a clear rationale coming out of what is sin tax and what is not a sin tax.
Absolutely. And since we are on tax slabs, and before we move on, quickly, it's also important to point out the number of changes that have been made in tax slabs. There have been almost more than 700 notifications since GST taxation came into being. Around 400 goods and services have seen constant changes, 5%, 0%, 0%, 5%, and all of these mean that it becomes difficult for a business operator to comply with the law. Although I'm sure compliance is way higher and is in line with government estimates, it could be higher in case there was less tweaking. So perhaps GST Council now needs to look at, I'm not sure what they need to look at, but they absolutely need to stick to rates that they eventually arrive at, as opposed to changing them very quickly.
As you say, the online gaming industry will be like, we prefer flexible rates that are moving. Because the online gaming industry, if you go tell them, no, we've decided 28%, no more changes, because changes is affecting compliance. What do you think will happen to the online gaming industry? They'll be like, heck, we're looking for a change, we're hoping for a change. So that's what I'm saying, it's a twin-edged sword. You're making so many changes, bringing in more sanity to your GST rates. At the same time, all those changes are also affecting compliance. The only way I can look at this is this. We're still at a very early stage of evolution of GST. And in that phase itself, we're able to generate so much revenue and so much compliance. If over the course of this financial year, we can, put more solidification to your GST rates, I think compliance will grow multifold starting next financial year.
Absolutely. So perhaps a need for the government to arrive at rates that they don't have to tinker with too much going forward.